week, after a really bad game against New York. You don't want things to get away, and now you're really starting to hope that Jaden is going to be back next week. I think if you were just holding him out for precautionary reasons, he'll unless it's a lot worse than we know, he's definitely going to be back in there next week.
Definitely. I would think that he would be back next week. I do like the precautionary because at the end of the day, this isn't a big deal that they lose this game at all. That's not my point here because it has nothing to do with the loss. It has everything to do with how they are losing, how they lost this football game.
Yeah.
That was a very winnable football game, and it's taking nothing away from Atlanta. Look, they're like I said, their bread and butter is Bijan. You got to give a lot of credit to Drake London. He was targeted 10 times, had 8 catches for 110 yards and a touchdown. They really did a excellent job, especially with losing Darnell Mooney early, of being able to still get him the ball. And now we're starting to see Kyle Pitts that we thought we should have seen for his first half of his career show up here on this side of the ball and on this year and had played very well. But again, a lot of his stuff was because people made mistakes.
Right.
I mean,
right.
he ain't exactly separating from people.
and not exactly. And, not only that, but if it was that bad this week, what's the defense going to look like next week when they got to stop a Marion Hampton who ran for 128 yards and a touchdown, this weekend against the Giants and also caught 5 balls for 37 yards. So, it's whatever. Yeah, I'm sure that the Chargers will be looking at that tape and saying, all right, let's just do the same things that Atlanta did. So, Witt has just, I think you hit it right on the head. Just dumb it down. Just let these guys make plays, especially along the defensive front, because again, that's where you spent the money in the offseason.
Right. They play a style of defense. They can play a style of defense that has these guys running downhill and being able to react and get after it because they do have that ability. They tackle well. It didn't show up today. There's a lot of times they could have had him in the backfield, but they missed. I'm going to go to what are some of the things that you saw positive out of this football game, Bob?
Okay, so for the positives, how about Luke McCaffrey, huh? A big touchdown pass, a big kickoff return. We've been waiting for Luke to kind of break out and start becoming a consistent contributor, and now he has. This is 2 weeks in a row with a touchdown grab.
2 weeks in a row.
I liked that. I liked the overall resilience of the team. Again, I hate to go back to comparing it to years past, but if you want to take something out of this team did not play well today. They didn't play well because they were missing so many key pieces. Without Terry McLaurin, without John Bates, without Noah Brown, without Jaden Daniels, and yet they still found a way to be in this football game in the fourth quarter. And granted, when Atlanta got the ball back, I didn't think that the defense. I figured the defense was too gassed to get a stop. But that's so. I like the fact that they were in it, even if it was just a theoretical thing with 9 minutes to go. In years past, past regimes, that game would have been probably, 34-14 or 34-17, with no chance to win it late in the fourth quarter. I like the fact that Matt Gay made all his field goals today. That's a positive. I don't think, obviously, you're not out of the woods there with the kicking situation, but, he kind of steadied the ship for the week. So that was good. I like the fact that the floor has kind of been raised, but now you've got to get healthy, and B, it's not enough just to have the floor raised. You got to figure out a way when you're still down those personnel. You got to figure out a way to win a ball game. That's where I think having Jaden back next week, if he's 100% healthy, is going to help because great quarterbacks can elevate the backup talent like that and be able, to levels that they wouldn't be able to play at normally. So yeah, that's kind of what I liked about the team this week. And one other thing, shout out to Mikey Sanders still. Well, like we said, first takeaway of the year, getting that interception, good play on his part.
Yeah, definitely. That was huge. I saw it was not a bad throw, ladies and gentlemen. Those who thought that he was trying to get over it, and Mikey just made a play. He
Yeah.
knew where he had to go with the football. He just didn't get enough on it to get it over him. And he had some of those last week too, where he just didn't get it over the defender, the short defender, to get it to the sideline, and it got picked off. I'll tell you, I'm with you on the kicking situation. I do like the resilience of Cliff Kingsbury here today. There were a lot of times where the offensive line just really didn't give Marcus a lot of time. I felt like Marcus too was trying to make a lot of plays from the pocket and not run. Kind of like last week, the last week you saw him just take off at times when he needed to, when he felt that the pocket was breaking down. And he was trying to make some plays and get the ball to his receivers. But I like the adjustments that they made to try to take advantage of some of the things that, the Falcons were doing. They were really getting pressure up front and really trying to push the pocket back into Marcus Mariota's lap. So a lot of the misdirections, a lot of stuff working with Debo, doing some of the things that they did with him to try to keep them thinking about what could be possible. We saw a little wildcat today. That was pretty interesting to see. And I would expect that you're going to see that again at some point. That's just something to put a little something on tape, for down in the future for people to think about. I'll go with that. I don't know if I have really a whole lot to say on the defensive side of the ball, other than the fact that the big guys up front were doing the best that they can. I don't like to blame, or I'm not placing blame on the refs. What I'm saying is that there was a different standard today on holding for Washington and for the Atlanta Falcons. The last time I checked, when you fish hook a guy, that means you're beat, and that usually means it's holding.
Yeah.
Matthews, number 70, Matthews did that several times today because he was beat, and it should have been a sack, but he was able to fish hook and kind of take his big body and take the man to the ground. I didn't think you could do that here in the NFL, but apparently you can, as long as you're playing in the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta. So
there you go. Exactly.
I don't get that. It was not called the same way on both sides. I also think that if we're going to call pass interference on one, then it should have been a pass interference on the defense on the other side for the Atlanta Falcons. There's just some inconsistencies, but that's just not with this game. That's with a lot of games across the league, and it's really a moot point. Because we keep saying this, there's money involved as far as betting, and yet the NFL turns a blind eye to it. So whatever.
Right. It's one of those things where you've just got to resign yourself to the fact that some weeks you're going to get the calls and some weeks you're not. That's just the way it is.
So let's move on. What did you not like in this football game today?
Plenty on the defensive side, that's for sure. I didn't like that they lost the time of possession battle.
Yeah.
And whether that was, play calling early or, defensive scheme or whatever, I didn't like that they lost the time of possession battle as badly as they did. And like you said, the defensive scheme, it's just if your problem is you don't have anybody that can cover over the middle, I'm sorry, but you're going to have to figure out something better than what you got, because what you had today and against Green Bay, that ain't it. And it's probably not, and it's not going to get any better the rest of the year. So, that you got to figure that out. I don't like the fact that they let a guy that got benched last week throw for 313 yards. And I don't like that they gave up almost 130 on the ground. They let Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algier basically do whatever they wanted to. And they're going to have to, like I said, they're going to have to tighten that up next week because Amarian Hampton is the same type of runner for the Chargers. And you got to think, and you know how much Jim Harbaugh loves to run the ball. So, bring your lunch pail again next week because it's going to be the same type of deal. They got a lot to work on in practice.
Indeed. I didn't like the penalties. I also didn't like the fact that they were not consistent on third down. They were 1 of 8 on third down. I did not like that the defense couldn't get them off the field on third down. They were sick. They allowed 6 of 12 third down conversions and a fourth down conversion on top of that. Let that stick in your craw for a little bit. That's a nasty piece of pie. That pie is moldy. It does not taste good.
No.
I also, again, I got to find a way to maximize the skill set of your corner. And you also have to realize that, Marshawn is battling. No question about that. He's in position, but he is uberly concerned about being beat. That's why you had the hold. He got beat on the double move, and he had that hold there, which was a penalty and still was a great catch. You got to do something to help your guys in the secondary, and I don't know how many weeks of this you have to see. I thought the Packers game would be enough. That should have been enough to make some adjustments so that your guys can read and react a little bit faster. When I'm looking at a team and I see motion, I see guys don't move, I'm like, oh, well, we're playing zone. It's obvious. And if you're going to play zone, then why don't you go to a 3-3-5 and give me more DBs? Because at the end of the day, you're not going to vote well having a linebacker, especially Bobby Wagner, out in coverage, covering a speedster or a real elusive back in the flat. It's going to be curtains every time. And it's not because any linebacker, for that matter, there's not too many people that can cover receivers and tight ends and backs very well. And I don't know how much you got to do and how much you got to see to fix that, but that's what I want to see. I need the secondary needs help, and there's no excuse for it because they have ballers back there. But it's clear that they're thinking a little bit more than they're playing. So that has to be adjusted. And we speak of what we have in front of us. Washington Commanders will go on next week and take on the Los Angeles Chargers, who they're coming off a 21-18 loss to the New York Giants. So they're going to be looking to get right as well. They have a formidable running game. They have another rushing quarterback that is capable of getting out of the way and making plays with his legs. Quentin Johnson is playing his tail off right now. As far as a wide receiver, deep, shallow, slants, outs, he's getting the job done. He's been very impressive. And you got a scat guy and a guy who is he is going to convert third downs and Ladd McConkey. So there is going to be some things that are going to either expose this defense again, because here we are with talented wide receivers, and you're going to have a talented running back. There has to be some type. You cannot go into next week doing what they've done here with Atlanta and what we saw with the Green Bay Packers. Can't do that.
No, the only positive thing you could take out of this week is you can say, hey, if the Giants defense was able to shut them down, maybe the Commanders have a chance. But I digress. No, you're absolutely right. And you without having seen any tape yet of Quentin Johnson, you just look at his stat line just from today, and I
Mhm.
mean, Justin Herbert likes to feed him. He had 13 targets. When was the last time you heard any Commanders wide receiver with that many targets? Not that that's
Exactly.
necessarily a good thing because, I like the fact that they spread it around, but that it just goes to show you that the guy, can catch it all over the field. So they're going to have to figure, something out. And again, that's a big game. It's not a must-win game out in LA. And again, you're flying across the country and all
Right.
that. But I mean, coming back 2-3 in the end of the world. But it definitely, if you can't go out there and win that one, and at the beginning of the year, we said that was one they probably going to be an underdog going into.
Yeah.
If the chalk holds next week, you're coming back to play on Monday night at 2-3, and you just don't know against Chicago,
Yeah.
which Caleb Williams is going to show up. So is it going to be the one that, looks like Joe Montana, or the one that'll curl into the fetal position? You just don't know. So, this is, you don't have to get worried yet, but you can see some storm clouds on the horizon that you need to deal with.
Yeah, most definitely. Thanks for tuning in, Ford. Appreciate it. Yeah, it's going to be. It is. It's not getting easier from here,
No.
and the writing is on the wall pretty much here, and it's very clear who needs to pick up their end of the bargain. And it's very clear that there are some major adjustments to said scheme needs to be made next week, starting tomorrow, starting tonight. It needs to be changed because this road doesn't get any easier. And the last thing, there is plenty of tape. There was plenty of tape on the Falcons today from last week that obviously you didn't watch, and then or didn't watch and chose to do whatever the hell you wanted to do. And there's plenty of tape for Caleb Williams coming up as well on how to get him to go
Yeah.
back and revert to bad habits. It's very clear because they've got weapons. You're gonna play like this. They've got probably
Yeah.
3 or 4 weapons that they can go to, and we haven't even talked about. That's not including the tight end or the running back coming out of the backfield. So
Right.
let you
Well,
know.
we got to get through the Chargers first.
Yes, but this 2-game stretch is not an easy stretch by any
No.
means, and can get ugly if we don't see major changes on the defensive side of the football. Because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, your offense still scored 27 points, and they weren't 100% sharp.
Right, exactly. Now, and that is, that sets up, another layer to this is that we're gonna, we assume that the Jaden's back next week, but now we're really gonna see, how elite Daniels is as a quarterback, how elite we
Mhm.
think he is, because all of these things that we've talked about, even on the defensive side of the ball in today's NFL, can be mitigated with an elite quarterback. It's what you see happen in Kansas City. It's what you see
Mhm.
happen in Baltimore and Buffalo and Cincinnati, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so that's one more thing that we expect to see in LA is that just having Daniels back makes things better on defense too.
Indeed, indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, just to go over some stats, Marcus Mariota was 16 of 27, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns, in that interception that was just a great play by the corner. Sure, he probably could have put it a little bit more to the sideline for his wide receiver, but corner made the safety made an excellent play on that. It was a running back by committee style today. Both um, uh, Chris Rodriguez and Bill Krosky Merritt both had 7 attempts. Rodriguez 59 yards and Krosky Merritt 47 yards on the day. Um, yeah, pretty. It's not horrible. Debo Samuel 6 of 6, 72 yards, a touchdown, and the guy that I know fans have been hard on Luke, but I think y'all need to go on and put that on mute for a little while. Luke had a excellent kick return today, made plays, 2 big plays in the passing game. He had a play last week that also helped. Got a touchdown for this team 2 weeks in a row. He has a touchdown, so I think he's starting to get a little bit more comfortable within the offense, and they're comfortable with going to him as well. So I think those things there really are starting to help his stock. And we'll see if we get Terry back. I heard some mentioning that they said something about avoiding surgery. Is there some type of did I miss something? Is some type of
I,
tear to the
yeah,
quad
I don't
or
know.
what?
It certainly didn't look like it. I mean, I thought all he did was, was kind of fall awkwardly when he came down on that long catch. So I clearly we're not being told something. Who knows? Who knows what it is?
Yeah. Yeah, we're not being told something, and that's clear. But they keep it close to the vest. I didn't think it was that bad. It looked like he kind of fell on the helmet as he
Yeah,
scored a touchdown. By the way,
right.
um,
Exactly.
and I think that when he landed on him, being stretched out and all that weight, I thought he just kind of bruised it pretty bad, and that might have,
Yeah, exactly.
might have
That's
been
what
a
I
thing.
thought.
So I
That's what
guess
I
we'll
thought too.
see. Guess we'll see. And hopefully it's not nothing too serious. But they had some young guys come in. Of course, there was few drops, but there were some young guys. Moore came in, and he
Hmm.
didn't have any catches. But Martin came in, had a critical catch. Jalen Lane had was targeted only 3 times, but he had 2 catches as well. Two big catches in this game. So guys just simply have to step up. And I think having Jaden back, hopefully next week, and then you've got the way that these running backs are running, and then you add him into the equation. It's going to open things up for some guys on the outside. Uh,
Right.
didn't get Zach Ertz much involved today within the offense. Um, I'd like to see more Ben Sinnott too, man. Those are the
He
times you
made
like to
some.
see more two tight end sets.
Yeah, he Sinnott made a couple of really good blocks, but yeah, I'd like to see him. I'd like to see him with a couple more receptions than he's had.
Indeed, indeed. So, um, look, it is on to next week. Unfortunately, your Washington Commanders lose today in Atlanta to the Atlanta Falcons, 34-27, and they're on to the West Coast next week as they will take on the Los Angeles Chargers. It should be a pretty interesting game there. Any final thoughts, Bob?
Just it's time to pick yourself up and dust yourself off and start all over again. Hopefully, Jaden is back because he is clearly the difference maker for this team. They need to figure out something as far as covering those tight ends over the middle. If they do that, then they can go out there and win against the Chargers. That being said, it's not going to surprise me if we are sitting here at 7 o'clock next Sunday night saying that they're 2-3 coming home to play the Bears. So hopefully they get healthy quick and get back the key people that they need.
Yeah, hopefully so. You try not to worry about injuries too much because at the end of the day, everybody's dealing with them. And you got to move on, and guys got to step up and make plays. So, but hopefully they'll get a few pieces back. We did not before another thing before we get out of here. We did not see. Geez, see his name was right on the tip of my tongue. He was playing with the Green Bay Packers. They just signed him here recently.
Oh yeah, Preston Smith. He
Preston
was he was
Smith.
inactive again today. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know whether they're still trying to get him acclimated to what they're doing here, but I don't understand. I think this guy really is another piece to the puzzle that can help, especially with
Yeah.
edge rush and pressure. He did an excellent job when he was with Green Bay of making plays, and just I was surprised to not see him out there. Um, but we'll
I,
see. We'll see what happens next week. Maybe he's just not ready. I don't know.
I just figure he's just not ready yet. And I think like with the quarterback situation, I guess they figured, hey, we played well last week. Let's go ahead and roll the dice and see if we can get through one more week without it.
Yeah.
Obviously not. I will, if he's ready, I expect to see him against LA next week.
Yeah, I think think he'll be a huge piece that can really help this rotation out a lot. And I think his skill set is really going to marry well with the guys up front
Hmm.
there that are already out there on the football field.
Yeah.
Well, well, ladies and gentlemen, again, your Washington Commanders take a loss today to the Atlanta Falcons, 34-27, and on to LA. Well, until next time, we'll see you.